All right. Welcome in. We are just getting rolling, guys, here. It's noon and it's Meaningful Ideas Trading Club. We are live in our Zoom room. I'm Kyle Kaufman, your host. Meaningful Ideas Trading Club is a place to show up and share ideas on personal, professional, and business development. And we like to talk about health, wealth, and relationships here. And today we've got Ryan Gray coming in. I'm really excited to speak with Ryan. It looks like maybe the camera feed is a little bit, I'm not sure if it's on our end or Ryan on your end. You look frozen. If I can check in from anyone else who's live here in the Zoom room, can you guys hear me? And is my are we moving at a good pace here? There's Ryan.
There we go. Does that work better? I had to switch to my phone. My laptop didn't like it today. So
Yeah, absolutely. Coming through loud and clear now. How are you?
doing good. Yeah.
Good. All right. I'm just making sure that we're all set here. Patrice, who helps me with these meetings, will be coming in soon. Ashton's in the chat. Welcome in, Ashton, and thank you. Everything's looking good on his end. So, always grateful to have people here at the Meaningful Ideas Trading Club. I'm really fortunate to have people like Ryan that want to come on and talk about everything that they're doing and just share with the world. And I want to jump right into that. Ryan, we have basically three rules here, just so you know. One is that there's a treasure out there. You have to have a belief in that. Number two, believe that that treasure is worth it. And number three, believe that you will find it. And any team who's got a leader that believes in those three things should be successful. A couple other things, guys. Jump into the conversation. As you know, I'll ask most of the questions here today, but I would really love you to put some stuff in the chat. Turn on your mic and camera. Jump into the conversation. Sean Sinclair has joined us. Sean, welcome in. How are you, sir?
Good. How are you, Kyle?
I'm doing well, thank you. Yeah, guys, I've had a really great week. I was able to spend some time in a strategic coach day-long session. I've talked about that program before in Chicago, and then I took Tuesday to really take everything that I learned and digest it, and help think essentially, which oftentimes you just have to do, think and write and document how you want to do things and just get clear. And so I had a great time doing that. All right, Ryan, tell us about things on your end. At a high level, I know today we want to talk about real estate in general, right? We're going to get into
Yeah.
creative finance, business growth. You've got assisted living that we can talk about. You're involved in buying and flipping homes, wholesaling, and off-market deals. So there's just like a ton of stuff in there, and I want to give you as much room as possible. So let's just start with this, Ryan. Tell the group here, and we're live on Facebook too. Tell the group here who you are and what you're doing and what you love to do.
Yeah. So my name's Ryan Gray. I own a couple different businesses, but my journey started starting Stable Living, which is an assisted living company in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. We have 14 group homes now, and we take care of
Wow.
around 52 clients right now in the group homes, as well as we do in-home care for around 100 clients throughout Eau Claire. We just moved up to Superior, so we have two homes that are opening there.
Okay.
That's kind of how my business journey started. I was in college, 21, 22 years old, and started opening group homes. I worked in group homes throughout
Hmm.
college, so that's kind of how I got started.
Sure.
And then I started going to Whiskeria around 2019. So only a few years after the group homes, and started just kind of diving into rentals slowly, which has really ramped up, I guess, the last couple of years.
Okay.
Spending more time into the rental space, flipping houses, wholesaling, like you said. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing. Have around 600 units right now with a partner. Um, and we self-manage, I think, 580 of those rental units. So,
Wow.
which is loads of fun. But yeah, that's kind of some of the stuff I'm doing. I definitely all over the place. I would say I'm really good at finding opportunity, but also I have a huge team behind me. My wife's a CPA, so she kind of helps me with all that stuff as
Wow.
well. Uh, Operating a partner in the assisted living company, which I
Right.
used to. So
Right. Wow. There's just a lot there.
yeah,
So first off, where are you dialing in from today? Where are you at?
yeah. So the assisted living company right now is, I would say, as close to self-running as it could be. I'm in that company 10 to 15 hours a week,
Hmm.
problem solving, just helping with culture, we're not growing very fast there now. We're kind of happy with where it's at. Maybe we'll
Okay.
grow future years. So that one's kind of self ran, I would say. Then the rental side, we're adding rentals. I would say the goal this year is to add 40 to 50 units. I would say not as fast as the last couple of years, but really focusing on operations and management. I think that's kind of the biggest thing right now, as well as flipping houses when we find an opportunity. So,
And you're in Wisconsin, so what's the area of the state? Are you mostly the
yep.
western side of the state?
Yep. So yeah, Eau Claire and then surrounding hour, I would say.
Okay.
Don't own anything really past that hour. Don't really want to. So
Sure.
yeah.
And do you like to see your rental units, like have eyes on them?
Yeah, no, I'm big on managing it myself, I would say, and being able to problem solve, I would say. So I
Yeah.
definitely like close. And I would say when I mean, not that I'm old, but a couple years ago, I was open to going all over the place. And now I think just operations wise, it's so difficult when you spread
Right.
yourself.
Right.
So,
Um, so I'm going to call it the suitability test, which it's just a term, but something that I picked up from somebody when I was exploring some real estate options, and he was talking to me about, well, he would run it through this suitability test, which is different for every person. So for you, if maybe in this call, and guys, just so you know, I've never spoken to Ryan before. This is our first time interacting, so this is truly some of the more fun interviews that I like to do because I'm just kind of discovering along with all of you at the same time. I want to know what's on your suitability test as you're approaching your businesses or your real estate. You've talked about some of them, so if we could just spin off here for a minute. Location for you it sounds like a big deal. So you've got basically a 100-mile range, no, a 60-mile range, about 1 hour.
yeah, 60 miles. Yep.
Okay. So location for you is a big deal. Um, in terms of suitability, like you said, you're mostly self-managing, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So how would you describe that? So for me, um, given my full-time gig as a lawyer, right, from a suitability standpoint, I like, and I guess we'll talk about the type of management, what that means, self-management. I have, involved myself in a management company, right? So do you have a management company or are you doing this actually
Yep.
in-house?
Yeah, no. So, well, in-house, so we have a head property manager and then a showing assistant and two admins that work for us. We're all in the same office, and then three maintenance techs right now.
Okay.
So, I mean, that is, we always managed ourselves or managed stuff ourselves, but it was literally me and my wife. The last 2 years, we kind of started building out a team, building out systems. Um,
So it started with you and your wife.
yeah, yeah, up to about 100 units, which, yeah.
Did you already have the network then, the contractors and, or were you starting fresh?
I would say we had it, but on a much smaller scale.
Hmm.
So we had one kind of handyman that did all the handyman work. I'm not a maintenance tech, so that's
Sure.
for sure. But we did all like the
Yeah.
leasing, showings, and stuff.
Sure.
But I mean, I would say what 3.5 years ago we had about 80 units. So we've really ramped up the last 3 years, I would say.
Yeah.
So
No kidding. You said your wife is a certified public accountant.
yep,
So did
yep.
that help you on your suitability test as if this was something you could take on and do?
Yeah, yeah, she's good with the numbers. I mean, I would say I do all like the underwriting for the deals and stuff, but when it comes to accounting and making sure we hit those numbers, she's kind of that CFO, I would say, of all the companies. And yeah, she does taxes for others too, but
Sure.
I would say stuff is her main focus. So,
Um, Take me through, maybe kind of the first, second deal, maybe getting into the real estate. If we focus on that for a minute, just kind of on that suitability, like, yes, this is a good deal for me because it meets these metrics. Some things that we didn't talk about, location. Do we have the time to manage and the skill set? Do we have the numbers, a numbers person, right? What else did you
yep.
consider?
I would say my buy box, I guess early on was cash flow. I mean, I think in Wisconsin, it's pretty easy to cash flow as long as you're not focusing on, higher class buildings.
Right.
We're majority C class buildings. We have some Bs as well, but we are kind of that affordable option. on the western side of the state.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we have some stuff that are, motel studio type. So, I mean, dealing with even, I would still say they're C class, and we try to keep
Sure.
them, turn them over when we get them. And I would say another buy box thing now is just value add, the opportunity to, either raise rents or fix up the property and get more rent, and buying it under market value. I mean, the big ones.
Perfect. I want to come back to these. And first off, I love that you call it a buy box. I call it a suitability test. You call it a buy box. I like that.
Yeah.
Did you come up with that with yourself or
Uh, I don't know who heard it from somebody. So,
yeah. Love that. Okay, Ashton's got a question here. It says, out of your rental properties, do you have any student housing rental units for colleges in that area? What's your experience with them? If you do, I'm a student at UW Platteville. He's looking into this in my area.
yeah, I have one student rental in Eau Claire. It's just a house. It's a 6 bedroom house. A group of girls are in it. I'll be honest, I have stayed away from student rentals. I think I've had a lot of opportunity to buy student rentals, but long term outlook, I don't like them. I guess where we are at, just due to attendance is kind of declining at Eau Claire a little bit. I mean, not
Mm,
not much, but to me, that's scary. As well as they're trying to push for sophomores on campus in Eau Claire.
okay,
So to me, that's very scary because that'd be a third of your,
sure.
your population renting. So, and to be honest, almost all the guys in Eau Claire are selling their stuff right now
Really
off market for student rentals. So that's all red flags. But
interesting.
if the price was right, but I've stayed away from them. So
So, so that does not meet the buy box, student rentals.
I would say I'm big on if the price is right. So,
Mhm.
but to me, it would have to make a lot of sense to buy student rentals in Eau Claire.
Yeah,
So.
this is interesting. So you looked at it, you have one in your area, at least you're saying attendance at the school is declining. There's a push to kind of bring people back to campus. Um, what else? I mean, because student rentals seem sometimes, I don't have any myself, but it seems like, well, there's always housing. Students need housing. Like it's just something that you need. So, what should somebody thinking about student rentals from your experience or others that you're aware of, what are the strengths and weaknesses? What things would you have somebody look at?
I mean, I don't, it's hard to answer, but if I went into it with not what I know now, I just want to know how easy is it to fill the units. I always like the idea of student rentals because you only have one turnover time every year. That was exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I mean, I think college kids are a little bit easier to get money from sometimes than C class tenants, and at least in Eau Claire. So I think there's some positives, but outlook wise, I mean, as long as hit the return numbers that you'd want on a student rental, I mean, I would be open to it. But to me, I'm big on you can't do everything, even though I do a lot of things, but
Sure.
I've stayed away from it. So,
Got it. Okay. Fair enough. I want to come back to some of the other things in your buy box for folks that might not be familiar with the classification of properties. Can you tell us a little bit about this A, B, C that you're referencing?
yeah, I mean, from my, at least I think A class property is new within a build day of like 10 years. Luxury type properties, high rents, basically 2010 and newer.
Hmm.
E class, I would say, I mean, it could be 1980s to 2010, but townhouses with garages, things like that. I would say rents over 1,000 in Eau Claire would to me would be a B class property. And then, I mean, I would say single family homes. Sometimes I would say if they're remodeled would be B class.
Sure.
Families, family rentals. I would say, and then C class. I mean, 80s and older. Lower rents, affordable. Um, yeah, I mean, C class would just be that lower end. I mean, I don't think, at least in Eau Claire, there's any D class. I've heard people say D class would be like, Milwaukee, where it's just hard to even go get your rent because you're scared of your tenant would be D class.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, that's a real thing in some places, right? Isn't that something that, you're
yeah,
an owner and just kind of fearful? Um, I went to law school at DePaul in Chicago. And for 2 years, I lived in this section of town called Old Town. And there was a housing development there for a number of years called Cabrini Green. A lot of people have heard of that. it was a real dangerous place. And I just was like, how do you even get services in there, right? Like, how do you send a plumber in, and who wants to go in?
Yeah.
And the police barely want to go in. It just is uh a problem that I guess I'm glad wasn't my problem, but I hope that the world kind of figures that out and has a better plan in the future, for everyone in a situation like that. It just seems
Stuff.
difficult. Yeah, really hard. So, okay, we talked about that. So value add, just tell us a little bit more about that, what that kind of means when you're looking at a property and you evaluate it and you say, well, all right, here's what it is. What could it be? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, just looking at a property in the lens of, what operations or construction that we can add value to is to make the property worth more than it is now. So
Mm-hmm.
um, the majority of the properties, I mean, I guess an example, we just bought a 16 unit in Rice Lake. All the rents it was all two-bedroom apartments, 16 units, and they were all two bedrooms, renting for 500 to 600 a month.
Okay.
And we kind of came in and basically ended up turning all the units over, trying to find new places for those tenants, but in the end, kicking them out, remodeling them all, and raising rents to, I think we're at 9.25, 9.50 a month.
Okay.
Um, which obviously more income means more value. So the more money you can get, net income at the bottom of your sheet, the more the property's worth, especially with 5 units or more.
Sure.
So
Did you do this work all at one time? You said, so if you had 16 units, emptied the place, came in at
um,
one time, or did you do this unit by unit?
we did, yeah. So we did 4 units at a time. So our goal was to do 4 units a month. So we ended up kicking four out at a time. There's a few tenants that, we gave them notices and they actually moved to a renovated unit if they
Mm,
could qualify for it. So we did that. But so yeah, we did 4 units at a time. I don't know if you guys know Logan Rakin over in your guys' area, if that name rings a bell, but that guy's the master at it. So just trying
mm.
to follow him. But
The name rings a bell, but I can't picture it right now. Give us that name, Logan.
yeah, Logan Rakin. So yeah, he turns units in like 24 hours. So he owns about 5,000 units in, I believe, Appleton and that surrounding area. And he's
Got
just
it.
kind of for turning apartments faster than probably anybody in the world.
Wow. Wow.
It's incredible.
No
But
kidding. All right, so that's value add. Cash flow, again, if you could just kind of speak to that, what cash flow means for you. I think there's somewhat of a universal answer to that, but
yeah,
what does it mean for you?
yeah. I mean, rent in minus mortgage, insurance, taxes, and then as well as all the other expenses that people forget to run when they're new. So utilities, maintenance, capex, basically everything, and then what's left over at the end. So um, most of my stuff I try to run at like a 40 to 45% operating expense. I would say is kind of what I've seen. So yeah, but big
Nice.
thing is I would say I don't really have a dollar amount per unit that I want to cash flow, but just depends, I guess, on the type of property. I always want to cash flow, even with interest rates now. So
Sure. Now, if I paused here for a moment, Ryan and I are connected through a group. It's called the Wisco REIA. And so, Ryan, tell us just a little bit about that, your involvement, where you are, how you're running meetings, so we can, uh,
yep.
have people know that information if you could.
Yep. Yeah. So I run, well, I'm one of the hosts of Whiskeria in Eau Claire. I've been a host for, it's my third month coming up, so not very long. But basically, the group is a networking group that has a speaker come in every month, comes and speaks about a different topic, and then you network afterwards. It's the second Tuesday of the month in Eau Claire on, I believe, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. But I walked into that room in 2019 not knowing a thing about real estate and basically attended every single meeting for the last 6 years, and I've learned so much. So
Mm.
I hype that group crazy in Eau Claire.
Yeah,
So, but I would say I mean, it's perfect for beginners and there's a lot of people that know what's going on too that are landlords that have been doing it forever, and it's kind of a spot to just have a beer, talk about what you're doing. A lot of partnerships go on in that group. Yeah, it's awesome.
and where were you attending? Was it in Eau Claire, and now you're the host there? Okay.
Yep. Yeah, I got asked 3 months ago to help out Sean Tudor, who's the main host, and then I'm the co-host or whatever you want to call it. But pretty connected in Eau Claire. So my job is to kind of get speakers and then get people to show up, is what he says. So yeah.
Nice. All right. Well, so far so good. Thank you. We've
Yeah.
put the Wisco RIA information in the chat, guys. If anyone wants to grab that, if you're watching through Facebook, you want to contact us to get that information. You just type in Wisco RIA at Google, you'll find it, and you can find the Eau Claire location. Otherwise, reach out to me or Patrice here at HKK Law Offices, and we can for sure hook you up. I have more questions about real estate and what worked for you and didn't work, but I just want to know a little bit more about this history because it sounds like this entrepreneurial spirit really came out of your group home experience. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how did you get involved in group homes? And are these when we're talking about group homes, is this like adolescents, juveniles, adults? What kind of group homes?
Yeah, so they're 4 bedroom homes that are in the community. You probably wouldn't even know that they exist, but every single town has a lot of them. So they're 4 bedroom houses, usually ranches, one level, but most of my homes are behavioral clients, as well as developmentally disabled clients. Um, but I was in the garden stuff, so we really focused on behavioral clients. I mean, we have some homes that are in the country that are actually have sex offenders in them, correctional clients, things like that.
Hmm.
But I started off working in a group home from 18 to 21 from a company called Raise. To be honest, really bad experience. I had a bad boss. He was in the military with me as well. He was an alcoholic. He actually ended up abusing his clients,
Oh man.
getting shut down. So me and Sean Tudor, who also is the Wisco Ria host, um, kind of had the attitude at the end of like, if this guy can do it, like we can do it way better than this
Right.
guy. That's
Right.
kind of how the business started as 21 years old, junior in college, and kind of researched for an entire year. End up turning our college house into a group home. So
Really?
yeah,
Wow.
kind of a crazy story, but that's kind of how it started. So
No kidding. So you were an employee, right? And it was the boss was somebody you were in the military with.
he was a drill sergeant in the military.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that person kind of brought you into that business.
yep,
Okay. Were you working on site in the group homes? Is okay.
yep. Yeah, but so I was the night staff there for a couple of years, basically, and that's kind of how I learned the business side. And he was doing a lot of things, I would say, right in that sense. He wasn't the right person to be running one. So
Right. Yeah. And now you were in college at the time and you and Sean, your partner, watched and observed and thought. And I guess take me through that process of this idea in your head and then getting it to where it is now, because that's a big step. So how did you build up the confidence to do that?
oh man, it's hard to think about it, but to be honest, we kind of got let go slash the company was like shutting down due to the issues that he was having, and it was
Mhm.
kind of those walking out the doors, kind of like angry at the situation. Because to be honest, we cared a ton about those clients. Like I literally worked 60 hours a week in college and like lived there to help keep it going. And I think it was kind of like we have to do it mentally
Sure.
almost like for the clients. And that's kind of how it started.
Wow.
I think at the beginning, we didn't really know if we'd get through the licensing process because there is a big licensing process with like the Department of Health and
Right.
especially at 21. I mean, they even interviewed us, which I don't think that's standard. So, um, yeah, I don't know what was the kick to do it, but I think it was more to try to help the clients find a home, to be honest.
Were you with your now wife at that time?
Yeah. So she was my high school sweetheart. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, she slept on
That's
the couch with me at a lot of group homes for many years. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it sounds like there's some kind of sense of duty. I don't know if that came out of the guard, like what about the entrepreneurial side of things? Do you have was there something in your growing up or anyone that was an influence that you said, "Hey, they did it, I can do it," other than the
No,
boss that was let go?
to be honest, no, not really. My mom is she was in the military too, and she's an X-ray tech. And my stepdad's in the military. My real
Hmm.
addict. So to be honest, no entrepreneurs in the family at all. To be honest,
Right.
I was in school for business at the time.
Okay.
So I mean, I I didn't really think about entrepreneur stuff, but I was thinking, just business stuff, trying to learn in college. So
Right.
I think I think I might have been in an entrepreneur class, so there's a chance that kind of helped a little bit too.
Yeah. Is any of that applicable? I'm a person who runs some businesses and I never went to business school. And,
Yeah,
like a lot of lawyers, you come out and think, I'm just going to lawyer all the time. And then you find yourself running, the business as well. And it's a little bit of a wake up call and a lot of, learning, in the
yeah.
process. So,
I would say I'm a big like just take action person, but college, I don't know if I would go back and say it was worth it, but I do think having an understanding of accounting, an understanding
mhm,
of I took a business law class, even though it was one class. Like I think having an understanding of college classes at like a overview level or very low level it's needed in business because if you don't have any understanding or you can't speak the language, I think
mhm.
that's when it's difficult. But I don't know if it was worth 4 years, but yeah.
Right, right. Wow. So what keeps you going then as an entrepreneur? What's you know,
Yeah, the girls side, I would say I actually generally enjoy coming to work every day. It's probably one of my favorite things to do is work. I definitely am not a person that works my life away though. I'm done at 5 o'clock. I try not to live on my phone. I do sometimes, but I try not to. Um, my biggest thing is why not? I mean, if you're going to go to work, might as well give it your all and take action and grow if you're going to be here.
right.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah.
I like
So,
that. Yeah, that's cool. All right, let's talk about creative finance. What does that mean? Tell us tell us about creative finance, what you like about creative finance.
Mhm.
Yeah, jump
Yeah.
into it.
No, I mean, I would say finance has helped me grow a lot. I would say even if you have a high income, growing in real estate with 20% down on every single property is super difficult. One thing we do super well is we find off market deals. So we can buy them under value. So that helps. But um, so a couple different tactics that I've used is just seller financing in general or a land contract. So basically, where the seller's the bank, and you can create terms with the seller to get them their purchase price, and they'll carry back in. Basically, you can break down with interest rate, terms, and purchase price, and you can kind of get an outcome that you want. Which we've done some of that. We've done a lot of bank financing too. Another owner financing tactic we've used is seller carryback, or a second mortgage. So where the bank comes with 80% or 75% of the financing, and then the seller will come with 15 to 20% or more than that, which then the bank will let you put less down. Usually, they still want to see some skin in the game, but a lot of my deals I've done 5% down, and then the seller carries 20 to 25%. Then the bank carries the rest. So I'd say those are the two biggest ways I've done seller finance. I know there's subject to, there's a million different ways to do it. Um, yeah, I mean, we've done other things with burrs and construction loans and stuff that, you can get into deals for less money down, or sweat equity too. But so the biggest ones are just getting a landlord to understand what seller financing is and holding some of that money as a mortgage. So,
All right, let's walk through that. Let's
yeah.
pretend we have a landlord on this call listening in at some point, and they need to understand seller financing. Let's spend a little time on it, right?
Yeah.
Walk me through it.
And it's always a tough conversation, but I do think the landlords that are a little bit bigger understand this so much more, and a lot of them started doing it. But usually my pitch um, is just basically asking, do they have debt on the property first to kind of understand their situation, and just kind of like asking questions on how they started. That's usually how I start the conversation because a lot of them have used seller financing, and then you can connect to that. But usually I'll pitch three different offers in all my offers, and one of them will be a land contract, which will usually be the highest purchase price, with the lower interest rate and a lower down payment. And then I'll offer a second offer that'll have a little bit lower purchase price with just a little bit of seller financing, which is just a second mortgage versus them being in first position. And then I'll make a full offer, which usually will have the lowest purchase price, because it's going to eat up cash that I have.
Sure.
Usually I try to have those conversations in person versus sending an email or a real offer, because most of the time they're going to say no right away to it. But if you can talk them through it, most of the times, I mean, they're open to it if they're bigger. I would say it's really difficult on a single family home or like a duplex to have these conversations because most of them need their money now. But
Sure.
when
Just trying to get out.
yeah, that has a 40 unit and they've owned it for 40 years, a lot of them are open to it. And I have a lot of like referrals as well that I've done it with. They trust me as well.
There we go. You're back. All right. So you talked about subject to. I know Sean is here. Sean likes to speak about subject to. Sean, can we spin off on you for a minute here? Tell us a quick overview on a subject to, what that means.
Yeah, so subject to just means that you're going to acquire either a full, partial, or long-term possessory interest in real estate without paying off the existing loans. And so the existing loans will be shown as exceptions on the title commitment instead of requirements to be paid off. They're shown as exceptions, and you have an agreement in place generally with the owner of the property or the seller, borrower under the loans, that you're going to pay those loans on their behalf, generally. Although you could wrap them into a larger loan in favor of the seller borrower. But basically, you're acquiring the property subject to the loans, the existing loans or loan, and you're not paying it off.
Thank you. Spur of the moment, he just spits it out,
Pretty good.
Yeah, for sure. So, these off-market deals, I mean, that's a lot of times where you're having this creative finance talk, right? I mean, does it exist on marketed properties, or is this really an off-market thing?
Yeah, I mean, I would say on like bigger stuff. So I've only done one seller finance deal, and it was on market. It was a 95. Well, it's 95 units in Augusta, Wisconsin, and that seller carried back I think 15% of the purchase price. So I mean, I think when you get into that really big stuff, well, big stuff for me at least, like
Mhm.
we'll have the discussion, but otherwise. I mean, probably not. I would say it's going to be really difficult. I do think the market's changing a lot where it's worth a shot. I would try. The hard part is, to me, leverage is risk. I mean, it's still risk. So if you're going to leverage a property at 90% or 95% of the purchase price, like it needs to cash flow. Well, if it's on the market, you're going to have a hard time cash flowing if you're, financing 95%. Now, maybe if you're doing a land contract and getting low interest rates, it's possible. But I mean, I caveat with leverage is risk, and a second mortgage can be a lot of risk. So, yeah.
How talk about off-market deals here. So where do you find these? Do they come to you? Are people sending them to you? Have you just built up a book where people know, Ryan and his wife are in the game, they're looking for properties. Now they're just coming to you, or are you actively calling people? Are you sending people
Yep.
mailings? How do you go about this?
Yeah. So I guess when I started off, I was kind of I was wholesaling property. So I kind of learned this niche, but I mean, I send out a couple thousand letters probably every single month. So that's one of the big ones, but the
Couple
top,
thousand letters?
yeah, yeah, we flip houses too. So I think that's more for that versus just the buy and hold, but
Do you have a deal with the post office when
I
no?
wish. It's expensive. Yeah.
Right. So okay, so I'm sorry, I digress, but you're sending out these mailings, but who do you send them to?
Yeah, so we pull lists. The big ones are fresh pick leads, which I think Andrew's been on here, but that's the big one that we use for flipping property or wholesaling property, as well as we use prop stream, and we just pull multifamily lists or different lists of owners that we think will sell us their property. And then we send letters. We don't do the cold calling. We did do some texting, but for the most part, it was letters. So yeah, that's the letter side. We have a couple other ways we find deals, but
Right. Right. Okay. So, letters go out. Do you do any follow-up with the letters that you send, or you just wait for these folks to contact you?
It depends if it's the list we really are targeting, which like larger multifamily in, that 60-mile radius I mean, I've probably texted, called, and sent letters to them multiple times. But for the most part, I mean, we send out one letter to each list, and we're not we don't repeat it a million times, I would say. But yeah.
Wow. What is Fresh Pick Leads? Andrew was Engel on here, and
Yeah.
he's the owner and runs Fresh Pick Leads, but it's been a while, probably a couple of years. So for refresher for people hearing that for the first time, we've put that link in the chat here to Fresh Pick Leads. What is Fresh Picked Leads?
Yeah, so basically it pulls a list every single, whenever you want to do it, of probate. So people that have died and they're trying to, the family members have inherited the property. It pulls foreclosures, divorces, and evictions. So it's just kind of a smaller company that's from Wisconsin that pulls those lists for you for Eau Claire and Chippewa, any county in Wisconsin, where PropStream kind of pulls all kinds of different data, but it doesn't pull like those targeted lists like that for you.
Got it. All right, so that gives you some information, and then you're sending these letters to these folks. Are they just on these letters, are they more general? Is there something, a piece that you send out, or is it personalized to them?
Yeah, we've tried a lot of different tactics over the years, but I mean, to
Right.
be honest, now what we send out is pretty much the same thing to everyone. It's very simple. We're interested in your property on 123 Main Street. We own a company called 715 Home Buyers, and we talk about how we're local and we're interested in buying their property. If it's bigger multifamily, we might put something in about what we own or something just so
Mhm.
they know the deal and we're
Right,
local.
right,
I always say keep it simple.
right,
Don't write 3 pages. Don't put your logos all over it. You want to look like you're somebody that's real. I mean, the
right.
old owners, they want to talk to somebody that's actually going to buy their property and not some company from California sending them a letter. We also handwrite our outside, like our
Sure.
outside of the
Right.
letter, spam. So that's a couple things we do, but pretty simple.
Right. I did some research on that one time, and it was talking about too that there's a difference between signing the letter, actually like a real signature, versus just like an electronic signature or no signature.
Yeah, we do
Do
that
you
too.
sign your letters?
Yep, yep. Yeah, my little sisters now actually do our letters for us.
Okay.
So, yeah,
All right. Great. So you sign the letters, you handwrite on the envelope
yep.
to the recipient. Um, Regular white envelope, anything special with the envelopes?
No, no, white normal envelopes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting, right? As a person who receives mail, I think we all probably do.
Yeah.
Sometimes you see that one, it's maybe a blue or a pink or just something that stands out from the rest of the mail and just
Yep.
interesting. Um, uh, and how long have you been doing that direct mail?
Probably since we started. I think that's the first thing we kind of did in 2019, 2018 is start sending mailers. So,
Obviously, a process that's worked for you.
yeah, I think it still works. I mean, I don't think there's a lot of people doing it in Eau Claire now, but I still think it works. I think they call all of us at once, but
Okay. Yeah.
no, it definitely works. And I think, yeah, it gets you in the door.
Okay.
So,
Now, how do you screen though? When you probably get a good response rate? People are interested, right? I mean, they have a problem. Do you get you're kind of saying maybe not. Do you get a good response rate?
um, I don't know the exact percentages. We used to kind of track that, but I would say, I mean, for every 2,000 letters, we're probably landing a deal, but that could be, I
Okay.
mean, a wholesale, a flip, a buy and hold, I mean, it could be all sorts of things. But yeah, I would say we get a call back for every couple hundred letters,
Okay.
but a
Right.
lot of the deals don't make sense. But we do partner with a realtor that we just kind of send leads to if we don't want it.
Sure.
And he doesn't give us a kickback or anything, but he does call us all the time with off market. So it's kind of he helps us, we help him type
Sure.
of thing. And
Relationship that has value.
yeah, we have a lot of different ways to convert a lead, I think, because we wholesale, we flip, we keep,
Okay.
we have, so, anybody that's selling for the most part, we have an option, where a lot of people, they only have one niche. So it's harder to convert, but
Right.
yeah.
What are the objections? Sorry, I feel like I'm kind of just diving into this part of it, but it's just interesting to me. So if you have a lead now, you've sent the letter, the person contacts you, what are their objections on moving forward with your company?
I would say the biggest thing is obviously price, but I would say other than that, a lot of people want to, confirm value. So they want to get an appraisal or they want to talk to a realtor. We always say, go do that if you want to, but our biggest, pitch is there is no realtor costs. We pay closing costs. Um, and I've closed every single deal that I put under contract. So like making it sound like, no matter what, we're going to take care of them. I think
Right.
I would say we're not really a lowball type company. I know a lot of these companies that do this, they come in and they write an offer super low and they just leave it on the desk and leave. For the most part, I listen to what they want for the property. And I would say a lot of the best deals I've gotten is from them saying a number. And I'm like, yeah, I would buy it for that.
Right.
So versus, a lot of the properties where we could put an offer and maybe convert, we usually send to the realtor, to be honest. So,
Okay, let's reverse this. Before I do that, I'll come back to it. So save my thought here. It's more on off market. But here's your LinkedIn profile.
oh
And
gosh, that's much.
is this a good way for people to get a hold of you?
No, I would say Facebook or Instagram. I haven't used LinkedIn a whole lot.
All
So,
right. Okay. Well, we're showing it for right now. I'm going to follow you. Anyway,
okay.
there we go. You got a follower. Let's see. Patrice, let's see if we can find Ryan's, what'd you say, Facebook or
Instagram would be the thing I update actually, but
okay.
Facebook as well.
And
Yeah.
Instagram, did you say?
Yep.
Okay. All
I'm
right.
on it.
Patrice is searching for it. We'll see if we can pull that up here so people can connect with you there. Okay, so let's reverse it. You're looking for off-market deals. What about the person that wants like is
Mhm.
looking for you? Where do those people go and say, "Hey, I want to get rid of my property. I don't want to do it the traditional way of putting this on the market. I want to find the people that like Ryan. Where do they go?"
Yeah, that's a good question. I know there's a lot of different websites out there that, if you type in, we want to sell our house fast, stuff like that. There's a lot of people locally that have sites. We're actually doing our site right now. So I tell you, type in 715homebuyers.com, but it's under
Okay.
construction.
Okay.
Um,
Can we put it up there anyway so people can kind of see it and they can check back and know that it's no
yeah,
longer under construction? Okay.
yeah, it should be
Patrice
done.
will put that in the link for us.
But yeah, no, if someone's looking for somebody like us, to be honest, in Eau Claire, there's not a lot of us. I would say
Hmm.
there's only a couple of people that um, do stuff like us. But I do think, if you call the big realtors in Eau Claire and you tell them, hey, my home does need a lot of help.
Hmm.
I'd like to not list it. There's a lot of, internal buyers that they'll have that'll come offer.
Sure.
To be honest, I would say most time you should call a realtor if you want help and questions. But I wouldn't call your aunt that sells 3 houses a year. I would call the person that is known to be a good realtor in your.
Hmm. Hmm. Interesting. You see sometimes, right? You'll get off the freeway, there'll be a bunch of signs, "We buy homes." Call this number that, is not legal marketing, right? So is there anything like that? Any billboards, anything like that that you put out that say "We buy homes"? Give us a call.
We do put signs in like the houses that we're flipping or we
Right.
own.
Yep.
So we do a lot of the times. We do a lot of different types of marketing though. I'm just trying to think of some, but I mean, oh gosh, what are the big ones? I don't even know. Maybe you'll tell me if this is legal or not, but on Marketplace, we message a lot of the ads for rent and just ask if the seller's open to selling. That's a big one that we do. Um,
I'm
but
not aware of any issues with that.
no, I'm never, yeah, referrals. I think, we're big on talking to realtors, like just meeting with the
Okay.
real week, telling them what you're looking for, and being that internal kind of buyer that, if they ever have a seller who doesn't want to go to the market, they can just
Right.
call. So
Interesting. I
it's a
didn't really think that that existed. That's good to know. A nugget right there. I just had the unfortunate perception after 44 years that, realtors don't want to let go of their potential leads. So that's really interesting. That's, yeah. What do you find why is that happening?
We don't promise, but for the most part, if someone brings us an off market, deal, we'll usually list 2 houses with them. So they kind of get, they get a couple listings out of it
Got
is
it.
usually trade. Can't always promise that, but we try
Got it.
to. Um, and I would say
This
that's
is because you buy it, you fix it up, you get it back out to market.
yeah, we usually don't keep a lot of the houses. So I think that's big as they know like, hey, if we bring it to them, at least we'll make money on it.
Right.
And to be honest, for the most part, we pick the worst houses where the market might not be the best place for it. So,
Right.
yeah, it's a big one. We send letters to all the landlords that we've bought from and kind of, send them $100 gift card to Johnny's and just say, hey, if you know any other landlords that want to sell, we're always looking to buy, keep that reputation. Because say some of the best deals I've gotten are from, just referrals from landlords because they know other landlords usually.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is what's always amazing to me. You have to just talk, right?
Yeah.
You have to communicate what you want or what you have or what you're trying to do. You have to just get it out there to the world. And a lot of people hold this stuff in, and
Yeah.
that then creates a lot of this anxiety, and I don't know what I'm going to do. I can't grow, things are going, it's not working. But you're not even talking to anyone that potentially could be of assistance to you. So it's just such another great example, Ryan, that you're demonstrating, you and your wife, by having these conversations just routinely over and over with people. And I would say to anyone who's in business or in real estate, um, sometimes people have a tendency to hold all that in and not discuss it, and you just need to get it out there for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. I agree. I'd say usually, yeah, we even just post on Facebook every 2 weeks. I'm looking to buy a house, and tell everyone we know about it, and it'll come usually. So,
Right. Very neat. All right, so we've got Ryan's Instagram here. We This is it, right?
yeah, that's it.
All right.
That's funny. Yeah, the Dubai photo. I was on a trip to Dubai, so that's that first photo.
Okay. Nice. And how was that?
Oh, it was awesome. Yeah, I've never been over to that side of the world, so it was really cool.
Okay. Tell us about Dubai. I mean, how did that come about? Was that your
Um,
idea, somebody else's idea?
yeah, so we do a boys trip every year with a couple friends from high school and then a couple entrepreneurs that we know, and every year we go somewhere new. Usually we don't go somewhere as crazy as Dubai, but we follow the UFC. So the UFC was they were in Saudi Arabia. So we went to the fights for 2 or 3 days. Then went to Dubai for 4 or 5 days. So that's kind of how it happened. But it's awesome over there. It's incredible. So,
Was that something in 2018 to 21 when you were at the group home that you thought was in the wheelhouse for you?
oh gosh. We always, honestly, I love to travel even when we had no money at all. So to be honest, probably. Um, but life has changed, that's for sure. So I probably would have been staying at the worst hotel on earth and slept six guys to a room in 2018. But
Sure.
yeah,
All right. I'm also looking at your Facebook here, and I'm going to share that. And I'm smiling because, Jim Carrey, Dumb and Dumber, every time just makes me
no,
laugh. So,
yeah, there's,
love it. When I overhear someone talking about real estate, yeah, that's exactly it, right? Um, all right. Adding you as a friend here. So there goes the request that's going out to you. And Graham Properties, that's you as well, right?
yeah, grandproperties.com. So that's just where our available rentals are. So
Okay. So if we go over there, here's Graham Property Management. So these are the properties that you own and manage and rent out.
correct. Yeah, and availability. Which
Okay.
our big now is we want to get our photos to be a lot better because I would say our listings, that's our biggest hole is we take a lot of bad photos. So
Okay.
that's the new team's goal for March.
That really makes a difference.
Yeah.
Um, I've seen some real estate that kind of sits around and maybe nobody purchases it, and a lot of it just has to do with like how it's presented, right? And I always kind of enjoy the bad pictures because I'm like, don't upgrade those pictures, like, if there's something on the market, right? Because I'm like,
Yeah.
don't want somebody to jump at it. So I think you're right that that can be a big deal. What do you enjoy most in what you're doing right now? You've got a number of things. You've got, managing properties, you're buying properties. What's really excites you?
Um, I'll say a lot of things. I would say management is probably my least favorite. I'm sure you've
Okay.
heard that before. I do like being the leader of the team though, and trying to, I don't know. I like creating new teams and new businesses. I think it's really fun to start a business. It's very difficult to master operations.
Mhm.
That's something I really want to spend my time on is just learning systems and operations, being the best at it. I think stable living, we kind of did that, but then the real estate's it's not new, but running 500 units is new. So, but I don't know if that's my favorite thing to do. I think finding properties is always my favorite, but I wouldn't say that's where my majority of my time goes. So,
For
but
sure. Now, you and I both know Chris Hake. Yeah, there you go, Adam. I just saw you in the chat. You and I both know Chris Hake, and I just talked to Chris yesterday. We want to get Adam on the circuit here for the Wisco Rias to come and speak.
yeah,
I interviewed Adam, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago now, here on Meaningful Ideas Trading Club, and he just like blew us away. Adam is a processor at heart and in mind and in gut and all around, man. And I don't know. Now, anytime I hear operations processes, I think Adam.
yeah,
And
that's a connect.
um,
Yeah, for
yeah.
sure.
So Patrice, grab that website, build the process, and we can put that in the chat, and Ryan can research that. But let's get you connected with Adam on at least a call, and just learn from him. And he's got a really cool system and a way to come in and help. And he's just excited in general about helping people. So
Yeah, thank
good
you.
to have you here, Adam. Thank you. All right. So yeah, so leading the team is fun for you, and how do you keep going, right? What's the leadership part of that? What's to you leadership? We were talking a lot about that last week with Jen Gulneck. We talked about leadership. I learned some things from there that I digested from that over the weekend.
Yeah.
Tell me about
Um,
leadership.
I would say I'm a big try to lead by example. Be the first one to work, the last one to leave.
Mm,
Gosh, it is tough. Leadership is one of those things where I'm definitely self-learning, and I think a lot of the times, I don't know. I always try to think of the best leaders that I've seen and try to strive to be more like them, maybe, but
mhm.
still be myself. Um, yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
Right. Well,
that's my
I'll share with you guys. It's not a rule, but I say it a lot in here. Being vulnerable, I think, is just important. So I had this
yeah,
conversation. We had Jen on here. We were talking about leadership. She has a military background, so that kind of played into a little bit. And then my wife and I, over the weekend, were kind of talking about this. And one thing that I love about my wife is she's always challenging me. She's like, Kyle, I'm not really sure that what I know of you or what you say about leadership is necessarily the right leadership, or you're viewing it the right way. And I listened to what she had to say, and I agreed with her entirely. The problem that I'm having in leadership here at my law firm is that, kind of like what you said, is leading by example, getting your hands in there, being on site, being with the team, right?
yeah,
and and my wife has a background in medical. She's a nurse, and she kind of talked about that, right, on the unit, right, and on the floor, and the nurses that were leading the floors, and maybe they weren't always doing the things, but they were there, and they would dive in from time to time and things of that nature. So
yeah,
in that conversation, it just helped me with my perspective on leadership and all the different roles sometimes that business owners play. And when you're if you overcommit and you're bouncing around and you're trying to lead one team on this and another team on that, every time you bounce around, you just left the team that you're trying to lead. And that creates confusion, anxiety, worry, lack of clarity, abandonment, like just all sorts of things, right? And it just helped me to understand how, for a business owner, you need to limit almost in the teams that you're leading, right? And find leaders to lead the different teams, and then
yeah,
lead the leaders of the teams, right?
yeah. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now. Is we have a lot of leaders that I'm leading for each company or each business. So I mean, I think that's almost the new struggle, is trying to remove myself from that direct line leader in each company and be like, hey, I need to be the leader for this leader. I can't do everything.
Right.
So yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
And here was the other thing that I struggle with. I go to the various teams and I love the work in those teams,
Yeah,
right? So then
yeah,
you find yourself digging in and you're like, well, now I'm all in on this. And so that can be a challenge if you like what you're doing. And it's hard to do it when you're having so many different things going on.
100%.
So there's my vulnerability moment for the week, guys. Um, Sean, how do you do that, if I could ask? You're always willing to take on my questions as well, bouncing around in leadership. And how do you have some strategies and ways that you've come up with on how to keep that in line?
Well, I mean, not sure I have a good answer. I mean, I'm
Mhm.
at this point, I'm not really, managing our firm. Because I realized you can't do it from afar. And I
There's the
think as
strategy.
far as,
Yeah.
leadership, I think you have to be there. You have to have, a hands-on approach. And and one of the reasons I resigned as the manager or a manager of our firm was because I felt like I was stretched too thin.
Hmm.
So I was stretched too thin practicing law, and I couldn't devote the time needed to manage. And even though we had to hire somebody to replace me, we hired somebody whose sole job was to manage
Hmm.
and lead, as opposed to kind of doing it on the side. Like you can't do it on the side.
Right. Well, there's your strategy right there. So thank you. I think those are great answers. And it can be somewhat awkward too when you're kind of finding somebody to replace you. And because then, like Sean, like if you're in the attorney box and now you have a manager, it's a little, right, it's a little bit of a different dynamic. Like, hey, I'm being managed. There's a lot of just open-mindedness. Anyways, that all gets us back to the suitability test and the buy box, right? Like what works for you and as you expand. So Ryan, you said that you're kind of slowing down a little bit right now, or maybe taking a step back to think about it, or are you in a buying phase, or where are you at?
I would say we're always buying, and I would
Mhm.
say I would still continue to buy very good deals. But I wouldn't say I'm striving just to grow or to double this year. That's definitely not the goal. I mean, I would say adding units always adds stress, even if you are systemized. There's still stress there. Um, and I don't know if there's no when enough is enough. Like I always want to continue to grow, but I don't want to cause a lot of pain just to grow. I would say so. That I
Right.
mean, still always buying, and if it makes sense and there's a really good deal and it was large, we'd probably look at it. But um, you know, I don't know. Money's nice, but it's. I mean, if it causes a lot of havoc in your home life, it's not worth it.
True.
So
Very
yeah,
true. So you mentioned you've closed every deal, 100%.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It reminds me of like Gordon Bombay from the Mighty Ducks, right? Like he's up there talking about his win rate in
yeah.
trials and stuff in that old movie. But congratulations on that. What are some things that did not work that you learned some lessons from?
Buying deals or just in general.
Yeah, just in general, it could be on real estate, it could be in business.
Gosh, what if things have not worked? I've had a lot of partnerships. Most of them, honestly, went super good. But I would say if you're going to go into partnership with someone on anything, even if it's real estate, make sure you really know that person and that they're financially secure and savvy themselves. I think that's a big error that I've made in a couple smaller things that I've done.
Sure.
I would say stepping out a little early on some of the businesses. I mean, stable living as well, and not maximizing the potential before moving on.
Right.
Uh, I think there's a lot of financial opportunity in assisted living, but I enjoy it. But I don't know if I enjoy it at scale. I would say, or I don't. I enjoy it for the clients, but not for the growth aspect as much. I would say at this point.
Got it.
So those are the big ones. I would say spending time training employees longer. That's something that I struggle with. Is I want people to get it fast and move fast like I do. But sometimes if you rush that, you're going to be terminating that employee in a year because you didn't spend the time. And it's honestly, most of the time it's your fault, I would say.
Mhm.
Those are the big ones. But
Right. Right. I think I referenced it a few times lately, but rewatched the Karate Kid, the original with Ralph Macchio, and he's complaining about Johnny and getting beat up by Johnny and all this stuff. And Mr. Miyagi says, no such thing as bad student, only bad teacher. Right.
yeah,
Is that the lesson learned from training employees? I guess what things have you done differently?
we just are more thorough now, have a true training plan when we're onboarding employees, not like the caregiver level, but
Mhm.
more for management type levels. I mean, I would say a lot of the companies in my industry, there's a lot of different roles, and I've had to do all the roles, but I haven't mastered a lot of them. So like I've done HR for 3 to 6 months, and then I hired an HR person and trained them for a month. Well, we're competing against companies that have done HR for 30 years. So
Right.
probably just spending more time in each department and truly learning it.
Right.
So
Right.
later,
You do have HR contracted out essentially now, or do you have somebody in-house doing your HR?
Yeah, so for Graham, we don't really have HR. We only have a couple employees, and we do
Mhm.
it still. But for Stable Living, we have 100-ish employees. So we have an HR person that's full time in HR. They
Right.
spend probably 75% of their time hiring employees. There's high turnover in assisted living, especially like the direct care professionals that we have. Um, I would say our retention's better than a lot of people, but it's
Hmm.
still a high turnover business. A lot of college kids. Um, so yeah, we have HR in house, but
Yeah. What was the partnerships that did not work?
uh,
What
yeah,
was the shiny object, if I called it that, that made it look good, that turned out not to be good?
I would say, I mean, the businesses that I've started with them, and to be honest, a lot of them are actually still going, but I'm more like, what am I doing? But
Sure.
there's not it, so I can't say exactly, but I would say a lot of opportunity in the business, but not necessarily the same goal,
Hmm.
or at least the same plan.
Yeah, the goal alignment and how, tell us about that feeling when you discover that it's different.
Oof. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the times too, I didn't really discover it in like an aha moment, but more like talking about the same thing 30 times on like, what we need to do to be successful or what I've learned from. And I think everybody has different ideas and you can win different ways. But when it's
Absolutely.
winning and I'm like, hey, like I have a method that did work and it does work for me.
Right.
And you're not working. So we need to try this. And they're just not open to it.
Right.
So
Yeah, that's tough. Yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, I once talked to a real estate investor and his advice to me was don't get into partnerships. That was his advice. Okay.
yeah, that's
Um,
what I would say. I have partners that are amazing and it goes super well on the bigger ones. So that's why it's okay. But
right,
yeah, careful.
right.
So
Six
yeah,
months later, that same person called me
yeah.
and proposed a deal. And I
Huh.
said, I was like, wait, like I thought he was like almost joking. And I'm like,
Yep.
you're the person that told me not to get into a partnership. So why are you trying to get into a partnership with me? Right. He
Yeah.
explained it, but we didn't form that partnership. I took his
Yeah.
advice and, I just felt like, I've been somewhat cognizant of that. And it's tough because a partnership sounds so good. Sounds like you have this skill, I have that skill. So it's all going to work. You're right, though, unless you have the alignment and people are on the same page of where this is going and why, of the purpose behind it, it can really become difficult and hard to
Yeah.
undo then.
Yeah. No, I would probably do more real estate partnerships, but operating companies, I would stay away. Would
Okay,
stay away. In my,
sure.
it's just so much more complex. In real estate, I mean, you can really whose role is what pretty quickly, but operating companies, it's tough. I mean, there's just so many different things and aspects. So
Right, absolutely. So, guys, we have about 10 minutes left. So, if you have any questions here for Ryan, put them in the chat, jump into the conversation. Feel free, please. And Ryan, if I'm missing anything that you really want to get out there to the group today, just tell me. I do have questions about the flipping and wholesaling. We haven't got into that a whole lot. So, can you tell us a little bit about the strategy there? Walk us through a typical flip, maybe, and then tell us what wholesaling is all about.
yeah, so we own a company. It's called the 715 Home Buyers in Eau Claire. We flip, I would say 90% of the properties we do now. So we buy them at a low enough price, rehab them, and then sell them on the market or keep them for a rental. Pretty simple. We started off wholesaling. We still wholesale here and there, but only to people now that are kind of like friends or people that we've sold to in the past. We don't really push it, but I don't think it's a bad way to get started in real estate. But for the
What does
most,
that mean, wholesaling, for those that might not know that?
basically putting a property under contract and then selling that contract to someone for a fee. So if you put a property under contract for 100,000, and then you could assign it to somebody for $10,000, and make that spread basically. Big thing. There's a ton of different rules with it now. A lot of things are changing, but I still think it's a good way to make money when you're starting. I think the
Mhm.
biggest thing is have the ability to close the property if you have to, and that's the biggest thing I want to say. But
For
yeah.
sure. Right. The flipping, I feel like as we had the run during COVID or after COVID where we had the low interest rates, right? So there was a lot of buying up of properties. I feel like there was a lot of movement there as maybe some of A lot of folks felt like they needed to get out because they felt like maybe the economy was going to drop out and this was the time to sell. And then a lot of opportunistic people came in and purchased these properties, despite maybe even some of the prices rising, but the interest rates were so great. Then the interest rates went up and it seemed to stop kind of the like major transactions. It felt that way, at least. I think the statistics show that. And then people started getting into the buy and flip. It seemed that that was where people moved into. Is that, am I seeing that right? Is that what you saw? Or
Yeah, no, yeah, you're right. I think, I mean, we've had a lot more opportunity to buy now, and finding a buyer on the market is a little bit more difficult, which is more risk.
after you flipped, it's harder.
Yeah, it's harder. I mean, once you listen to the MLS, there's definitely not the 12 offers, three above asking like there used to be. We didn't flip a lot during that time. And we do keep a lot of the stuff we have, but yeah, I mean, the buyers are definitely, I mean, at least in Eau Claire are a lot more tighter than they used to be. I mean, you still get offers if you do things right,
Sure.
price it right. But I mean, during COVID, you could put something on for over what you would imagine and you get an offer, I'm sure. So,
Right. Right.
but,
Where do you see things going in the next 10 years for you and your wife? What does it look like?
yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, it's hard to say it. We have two kids now. I'd like to vacation even more than I am now. I would say still steady growth. I don't really want to like, I mean, I don't know, if I have 1,500 units in 10 years or 1,000 or 800, I'll be happy. I think that doesn't really matter to me.
Mhm.
Just continue to enjoy work, I think is the big thing. Enjoy life.
Mhm.
Yeah, no crazy business goals like I used to. I don't know. Yeah, business was life, but now I want to enjoy the kids.
Right,
So,
right. When
yeah.
you have your free days, do you keep them all as free days? In other words, are they always say like business owners never really stop working on the business. They're always thinking. Are you able to shut it off?
Oh, that's a hard one. Yes, I would say on vacation I shut off very well, and I try not to communicate with work unless I have to.
Mhm.
At home on the weekends, I would say I struggle more to not get pulled into stuff. But I am big on not working on the weekends unless it's like some showing where I had to do it, and the person's like, I only can show on a Saturday. Otherwise, it's a no go.
Right,
So I
right.
would say my afternoons. I mean, there's some days I'll be at the office working till 6 or 7. So.
Mhm. Yeah. Where do you want to travel to? Where are you headed?
Ugh. Um, I've been to Europe once or twice now, and I want to go back there a couple more times. I love Europe. I would say that's my favorite. I want to go to Australia, some more crazier places, I think. Biggest thing is feeling comfortable leaving for a few weeks versus just a week or two. So,
Nice. There's some nice places you want to go. I like it. I'm hoping to get on the road and come and visit your RIA at some point. Um, and I haven't really planned that out or built that out to do the tour around the state of all the different RIAs. There's just so many like good people in this program. And for anyone that's out there listening, whether this is live or you're replaying it, I really do encourage you if you're a resident of the state of Wisconsin to really get involved in the Wisco REIA and as Ryan said, for him, it was instrumental in your growth. The very first meeting that I went to, I was just so impressed with the quality of the conversation and the people that were in the room. And sometimes you go to networking events and it's just a lot of fluff and trying to sell you different things. And I just didn't get that feeling, and I felt like if you put in, you show up here 12 times a year, once a month, something positive is going to come out of this.
no, yeah, 100% changed my life. So, yes, I don't think I'd be involved in real estate really without it. So, yeah.
Great. Well, good. Good plug. All right. Adam, thanks for checking in. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm got contractors over here at our new place. I'm working from a makeshift
Oh, nice.
setup.
Is
I
that
stole
tape that's taped up to the chairs? I like it.
this tape to the table. I stole this out of the garage from my neighbor who I don't know yet, and we're doing our best over here. Sorry, I was rolling paint for a little while here,
Okay.
seeing if what color is going to
Sure.
work out. But no,
Now,
I
have you documented the process on how to build that table, Adam?
I certainly can. I have been getting some documenting the process of these contractors here doing this work. So
Yeah.
uh, my wife is asking for that as she sits at work, and I have to manage this project. But it's fun. Enjoy it.
Yeah.
So no, thanks. Great conversation, Ryan. I was listening the whole time. Love the story, and would love to connect with you here at some point into the future.
Yeah, hell yeah, man.
Awesome.
All right. Well, that sounds great. Appreciate everyone's time coming in today. Ryan, we're just about to wrap things up here. So, any final thoughts, things that you want to share with the group, messages you want to share?
No, not really. Yeah, just connect with me on Instagram or Facebook, or text me too, 715-450-5062. I'm always big on getting coffee with people if they're in town and just talking about business. So yeah, nothing really.
Great. All right. Well, we are working hard, guys, on our YouTube channel and getting our content edited and placed on YouTube. So hopefully you will be able to find this interview with Ryan up there soon. We had Adam on a couple weeks ago. That'll be up there. And we'll continue to build that out and make connections here in the Meaningful Ideas Trading Club. So we are back next week, Patrice. And let's see, who's lined up next week?
It is Joel Pipcorn.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, guys, come back in for Joel. Joel's got a project going on that he started, and he wants to talk about kind of a throwback also to the Rich Dad Poor Dad, which when he told me he wanted to speak about that, it just reminded me of like sometimes one book is better than a bunch of books, and that's just like one of those that is just like always worth a second, third, fourth read, right? It always gets my creative juices going with real estate and business in general. All right, guys, that's it. Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate you so much and everyone being here. Always grateful for you. And we'll see you next time in the Meaningful Ideas Trading Club. Take care.
Yeah, thank you guys.